Hi, I'm Dr. Kelly Evans Wilson, Dean of Accreditation and Authorization for Franklin University, and I wanted to take an opportunity to share some of the research that I'm starting to work on regarding accreditation. And I've kind of labeled this research Humanizing Accreditation, transforming accreditation from a bureaucratic exercise into a compelling narrative of institutional excellence. If you're familiar with higher ed accreditation, this is a requirement that institutions be accredited for Franklin, it's the Higher Learning Commission. And then in addition to our accreditor for our institution, we also work with various programmatic accreditors for our nursing programs, our education programs, our business programs. And then we also work with the Ohio Department of Higher Education, as well as the Department of Education on a federal level. So while I've kind of labeled this humanizing accreditation, what I'm hoping to get at is really all of the external folks that we are talking with from an accreditation perspective. And accreditation, while it covers a variety of things. In my mind, accreditation really focuses on how do we ensure that our students are receiving value for their education? How do we ensure academic quality and create an institution that fosters continuous improvement? So those are kind of the two buckets in my head when I talk about accreditation. While it is a requirement for us as an institution, I really want to think about accreditation as a value add that it provides to our students. And so I think a way to get at that value add, again, focusing on ensuring quality and fostering continuous improvement, is really thinking about the narrative that we tell those external accreditors like I talked about. So, and what I really do believe and what I'm hoping from this research that I'm starting to follow is that narrative can really help, tells our story, is something that I constantly am reinforcing to folks is accreditation really is our opportunity to tell the great story that Franklin provides. So I've been thinking about this intersection of storytelling, accreditation. And then I kind of came upon NPF, the Narrative Policy Framework, which is somewhat new, but really in the 2000s, but is really focused on kind of that systematic approach to understanding how narratives can influence public policy. And as you've seen in these last few weeks, accreditation, Department of Education is absolutely in the news, and what role that plays in our lives is being debated kind of as we speak. So it seems like there's no time but the present to start thinking about how accreditation can influence kind of the public policy side of higher education. So I've started digging into this narrative policy framework. And then what my goal is to kind of better understand this theory, and then how we can kind of look at the previous reports that we've submitted, the previous accreditation reports, how that really aligns with NPF. And then is that something that we can then share with others too, as colleges are writing their additional accreditation reports? Is this a framework that they could use to really help tell their story? So, NPF has kind of four key elements: the setting, characters, plot, and moral of the story, which I think aligns really well with higher education. If you think about the setting that we are in, whether it's your small community or the larger higher ed community, also the characters that are involved in your institution, all of those stakeholders, students, administrators, board members, and then what's the plot and the moral of the story is really that mission that we have. We're telling the story of the institution. So, I'm kind of at the beginning of this research initiative, but really excited to see how we can really look at the narrative that we're telling as an accreditation team, that we're telling our external folks, and how to really, that intersection with storytelling, and then to tell our story to those external folks. The other thing when I'm thinking about this, what I like about the narrative policy framework in those four key elements is it really humanizes accreditation. It's about telling our story, and we tell our story best when we align data and a narrative. There, and I think oftentimes we just focus on the numbers and the data. And while that's exceedingly important, it's also about the stories that we tell. It's about the students that we have impacted, how they've been able to achieve their dream, get a promotion, finish college as a lifelong goal. It's about telling that story holistically. So again, and I do think that those kind of four key elements, and NPF really lend itself to humanizing accreditation. And again, looking at the data is important. We absolutely want to share the data. The data helps inform our decision making. But the data is also qualitative and quantitative. And that qualitative piece helps us tell the story, and kind of humanizes the accreditation process. So this is kind of my framework as I'm kicking off this research, is really digging in a little bit to NPF. And then what I want to do next is really apply that to some previous accreditation reports that Franklin has submitted, and then hopefully develop some best practices that I could then share out with other institutions as they're writing their accreditation reports, and again, thinking through this lens of NPF. So thank you for the opportunity to share my information. As you can see on the screen, you can take a look at what I've laid out, and then my contact information is there if you have any questions or any ideas or thoughts. As I kind of kick off this research, I would really appreciate it. Again, thank you for listening, and have a great day.